Hello everyone, it's Christy from Christy's Beautiful Life here for a sunny Tuesday with Spiegelmom Scraps. Today I am scraplifting the fabulous Jen Schow and this beautiful layout she created, and I'm using the Free Spirit sequins along with the Just Beach in It sequence that you see here. And I'm going to start things off with these two photos of my son. They were taken a few days before my daughter was born back in March. And I love these two photos. They are some of my all-time favorite shots I've gotten of him. I was working on using some different angles and stuff, and these just really, I just love them. He's so sweet and precious in these photos, so I was excited. I'm also going to use this really pretty fall themed paper, though this isn't a fall themed layout. I just really like the papers. I thought that the softness of them really helped play off of the vibe I'm trying to give off with this layout, because I want it to be soft and subtle type thing. It's going to talk about how I just want him to know that even though his whole life is about to change because he's going to have a baby sister, that he's still super important to Sean and myself, and we love him very much, and nothing will ever change that. So that's kind of what this layout is about. It's a little bit mushy gushy. I like to do those every once in a while. I've been having a lot of fun doing some other kind of more happy, not that this isn't a happy tone, but like not the mushy gushy type of layouts, that I was like, time for a mushy gushy one. That's what I'm all about. So you can see here I'm just cutting with my ruler because I still don't have a trimmer. And I'm just doing some varying sizes like I had seen in Jen's original layout. I'm pretty much exact scrap lifting. I've done that basically for every layout I've done this month. It's basically been an exact scrap lift because they're just so pretty. Why mess with a good thing? So I am, however, using two photos instead of one. And with this one, this is my favorite photo. So I'm highlighting it by just using some of this yellow paper to have just a little tiny border so that it kind of pops off the page. And I really love the way that that looks. And I'm going to just go like this. And then I'm thinking, okay, it needs a little more. I'm not exactly sure what it's missing, but it needs something. And what you're going to see me do here is pull out some of my shimmers. And it's the sunset one. No, Glorious Day. That's what it's called. It's a very beautiful color. And when I mix it with texture paste, it becomes this very soft yellow, which is the same color as the yellow within this collection. And I am thinking that adding some texture and playing off of that underneath my photo is going to look really neat. But what ends up happening is my first take on this doesn't work out. And I know you haven't seen any of it yet because I'm still trying to add a few more layers here. I was struggling trying to figure out what it was missing. It was off balance to me. And so how I end up fixing that is by just adding one more strip, and I wasn't sure, so I cut a few different strips. But in the end, I think I add a strip of yellow is my final decision. But it was just off. It was really off balance. Like the colors weren't working, and there's too much space, and it was just missing something. So I cut another, like a 1/2 inch one out of this yellow, which is what I backed my original photo with. And that really helped kind of set the tone and make everything spacing more pleasing to my eye. I don't know what it was about it that was throwing me off, but something was. So this I like much better. So I'm just going to play that down there, and now I'm going to work on that mixed media I'm talking about. So I'm liking this. I'm like, okay, what do I do now? And I'm going to stitch and all of that too. But first I was like, I better do my mixed media first, because what happens if I don't like it? Well, thank goodness I did not stitch all of that down, because my first take on my mixed media went horribly wrong. So let me say, I just did this. I prepped this paper. It was good to go. But somehow, when I went to do the using of the texture paste with my vibes, Glorious Day vibes, was fine. That worked okay. That wasn't a big deal. But when I went to splatter, it soaked up and it looked like ink spots. And then I have the black shimmers for splattering. I really love the way that looks. And it's like I had no gesso on my paper. It like soaked in and it looked like mold. Like it's just not appealing. Not appealing at all. I was so upset and disappointed and frustrated. So I shut my camera off and I was like, I can't work with this. I just can't. And so what I ended up doing is just exactly like you see how I mixed my mist with my texture paste. I just ended up smearing it like you would like frost a cupcake, and that's how it ends up turning out. And I'm so much happier with that. It doesn't have the texture that this really fun overlay that I'm using has, but whatever, like at least I have yellow and you can tell that I've done a little something to it. It was so pretty though, right? It's so pretty right there, and then I just ruin it. I was very upset. You know what, that's the one thing about when you start and you work with mixed media, and if you're new to it, you have to be prepared that not everything's going to turn out, and that it's okay to mess up a piece of paper. Like, it's okay. If it's something that freaks you out and you don't want to mess it up, I really suggest you start by buying like the cheap brand Michaels paper and play with that, because then if you mess it up, you haven't spent that much money. Just my suggestion. All right, so disaster averted. That's all done. All good. This is my new thing. Everything's stitched down. I'm just going to add a little texture by flipping up the sides a little. And I'm so happy with this and I love it so much. And now on to the fun part of this layout, which is the embellishing. So the foundation of this layout took me the longest time, and part of it was doing all of the mixed media, but the other part was just trying to get it lined up and figure it out. So sometimes layouts, the playing part of it isn't what takes so much time. It's figuring out your foundation sometimes, even with a scrap lift. So I'm going to add these two tags and I love it. All of this is from the same collection, and I think it's called Golden Days, I believe is what the collection is called. And I basically am just using the entire collection. This is not something I normally do. I like to mix product. I'm not normally one to just use all of one collection, but for some reason everything in it kept calling to me and working, and once I finished with that collection and laid everything out, I didn't need anything more, so I didn't even go and look for anything else. I just went with it. So I'm going to start working on my title here, and at first I am using these black foam thickers that I love these thickers, but they're black, and the main like dark color in this layout is actually a navy, and it was really throwing me off and I didn't exactly like it. So I'm playing with it. I thought, well, I'll try. I'll work on the other parts now. So I'm going to do these awesome triangles. I love them. They also came in the ephemera pack to this collection. And the gold hearts, I really like those. And I just keep playing. I'm adding a few little word phrases that say, this matters and here with you. Because again, the whole theme of this is, it doesn't matter that you have a sister coming into your life. You are important to us just all on your own, the theme. So that's why I use those. And I'm just going to build up my title. I love it. I kind of do a little staggered thing, which I love. I think that's really fun. And then I'm looking at this and I'm like, it's just so dark. And do you notice, look at it right now, you'll notice your eye goes to my title and not to my photos. Sometimes that's okay if you don't really mind, but that is not what I'm wanting in this layout. I want your eyes to go to that photo, both of those photos, and that's where I want your eyes to be drawn to, not to my title. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to leave it for a minute, think about it, and then I was like, I can't. It's not going to work, and I'm going to end up switching it. But first, I think, well, let's look at my sequence, see what I can add here, figure out where I want to put my sequence. So when I change my title, I already kind of have an idea of how it should lay out. So I'm going to sprinkle my Just Beach in It sequins all over, and it's so pretty and I love them. And the only color I use in the Free Spirit one is the navy, because it is the perfect navy for this layout. It was perfect. I couldn't have made it any better if I tried. And then you can see I'm just going to swap out my 3 words, you, so, and loved, from black into navy. And I'm so much happier with the way that turned out. And your eye now goes to my photos and not my title, which is what my plan was. So you can see that is going to wrap up my layout. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will be back next month with some more projects. Thanks everyone so much for watching, and don't forget that you can go shopping and use my code Christy15 to get 15% off any of the products in the Spiegelmom Scrap Shop. Bye!